Hi, everyone. My name is Vincenzo Berghella. Once again, welcome to The Extraordinaire Within You by Ejogam FM. I'm again with the brain behind the idea here, Kavita Narang, Dr. Narang, and we have an amazing guest today. So I'm really, really happy and honored once again. Kavita, why don't you do the introductions?
Thank you so much, Vince. And to all of our audience, welcome back. This is actually the last session of our first year of The Extraordinary Within You. So I'm super excited. We're celebrating the final session here. And we have a very, very special guest with us today. That is Dr. Liona Poon. Dr. Poon is the chairperson of the Department of OBGYN at the Chinese University of Hong Kong and also a visiting professor at the Department of Women's and Children's at King's College London. She's a world-renowned expert in the fields of maternal fetal medicine, and her areas of expertise including screening and prevention of placental complications like preeclampsia, prenatal screening, and prevention of preterm birth, to name a few. She has over 340 peer-reviewed publications in high-impact international journals, and her work has had significant practice-changing impact in the care of pregnant women around the world. We're just so grateful to have you here with us, Dr. Poon, and streaming live from Hong Kong, actually. So, having our really, great leaders and audience from around the world. So thank you for being here with us. And I'll give the mic to you want to say a few words and maybe share something you're grateful for.
Hi, Vincenzo, and hi, Kavita, and I'm Liona from Hong Kong. Very grateful to be here today, and when I received the email, I was like, "Wow, this is fun!" And I hope I could share my journey with many of you, and perhaps I can learn from you as well. So I think it's a great opportunity for us to exchange ideas, and I think you're doing something amazing with this. Thank you.
Thank you. That's beautiful. Thank you. How about you, Vincenzo?
Well, first of all, Leona, anything you're grateful for? You want to share? Grateful to be here again.
I'm obviously grateful to be here because to be considered a big name, I never think like that. I actually feel like I'm just doing what I love, and slowly, and through hard work, through perseverance, and you're able to demonstrate good results that can change clinical practice. I'm very grateful to be in this position that I'm able to make an impact. So yes, so it's an extraordinary journey, I have to say.
That's beautiful, and you're a beautiful person, as I know you well. I'm grateful. I'll this weekend I know you went to Figo, and Leona just came back, and then Cambodia, but I went to Denver here in the U.S. We do every year, twice a year, actually, an SMFM leadership course, in which we kind of actually talk about positivity and how to interact with people and relationships, and how you have the best conversations, and maybe you can influence others like you do, and empower and inspire the people around you, family, friends, professionally. So it was again another group of 25 MFMs, actually from the US and Canada this year as well.
Oh.
And it was a wonderful time, and it's called the Dan O'Keefe SMFM Leadership Conference, and I came once again inspired and thankful. So that's what I'm grateful for. I know Kavita has been and will continue to collaborate with us.
Yeah, no, thank you. And that's beautiful. And to all our audience listening, I really appreciate both of you sharing your gratitude. And the conference that Vince is talking about, the Dan O'Keefe Leadership Conference, is really phenomenal and really well run by an extraordinary group of leaders. And I would just encourage our audience to consider looking into that too. And for me personally, for gratitude, I think today I'm extra grateful for the success of this podcast that was made possible by such incredible leaders like yourselves that are willing to take out time to share your stories and your journey. Because this project started as a little dream project from my own curiosity, wanting to hear everyone's stories and journeys. And for it to finally make it a whole year is a huge milestone for me. So I'm grateful for that. And thank you, Vince, so much for giving me this opportunity.
My honor and pleasure, Kavita.
Awesome. Well, we're so excited to have you here, Dr. Poon. Before anything, I would like to jump right in. My first and favorite question to always start out the session is if you can tell us a little bit about your childhood and how that kind of shaped your career and who you are today as a person.
I've been reflecting on this a lot, and then to be asked this question is it's interesting because I've been thinking about this a lot. When I was 8, a family member fell ill, and my parents wanted me to be a doctor, and then later on, then my mother urged me to consider pursuing obs and gynae, so I could advocate for better healthcare for women. And then I wonder whether she was herself suffering silently, like many women who face stigma and lack of support. So that thought has stayed with me. And straight after med school, I went into obs and gynae right away, and I haven't looked back. And this is really driving my commitment to be a voice for women and to help change the system through research, advocacy, and care. So, yes, midlife crisis, maybe a third life crisis. I've been thinking a little bit, why am I here today? And then I go back to those memories. And my mother's not with me anymore. And then, she's obviously made a big impact on my life.
Wow.
That's great. Most of the time we hear those kind of stories, which is interesting, a parent or a relative, inspiring us. And, you kind of said it at the beginning, it also takes some degree of drive as well, it's the inspiration, and your mom was direct. It sounds like, she even asked you, to be a doctor. And you think your drive comes from there? Like, was there a parent who was particularly, dedicated or hardworking, whatever they were doing, maybe not medicine, but, something else, but they were really dedicated to a cause?
No, I think it was just like my parents planted the seed in my brain. Okay, then actually another sort of story I've been telling other people, like I actually wrote to my dad when I was 14, and I asked to leave Hong Kong to pursue my education elsewhere. So perhaps I already knew that I might not fit in Hong Kong. This is perhaps something Vincenzo wants to touch on later on. And I actually wrote a letter to my dad at the age of 14, and I asked him to send me away to study in the UK. Then obviously I was blessed, lucky to have been given the opportunity to go to a boarding school in the UK for my GCSE and A levels. But because of that, I was very driven. It was expensive to be sent abroad, to go to a boarding school. And then so I focused on my studies and got my grades for GCSE, got my grades for A levels to get into King's. And so, yes, that was perhaps money was the main reason that drove me to be so dedicated to kind of really go for it.
Wow.
It was like, if I didn't make it, then I had to come back.
Wow, that's amazing. But you really made the most of that opportunity, and you really did something amazing with it. But I'm very curious, if I go back a little, at 14, like what was it that made you feel like you wanted to leave? Like, was it like, what was the drive there, and why UK?
I think I don't quite like the spoon feeding approach to education, and students are, I'm sure it's the same nowadays, right? You're split into different classes according to your abilities, and I don't know, I just wasn't very fond of that system, and the spoon feeding didn't work for me. And why I went to the UK, it was either US or the UK, and my dad knew someone from the UK, so that was an easy option for me. Yes. Yeah, I think I was like, my parents managed to get me into a very good school, but I didn't enjoy it as much. I didn't really like it. I didn't find the teachers impressive, and I was very critical of them. And then I was like, okay, let me try elsewhere.
Wow. It almost sounds like you were able to identify some of your strengths and potential at such a young age, because you were probably somebody, you didn't like the spoon feeding because you were a thinker. You're probably into like, you wanted to think on your own and do those things. I think that's really wonderful. And you also knew you had way more potential to do a lot more, which I think is phenomenal.
I'm not sure I knew about that back then. Just didn't feel right. If your body tells you it doesn't feel right, then you have to do something. So I feel like I'm a fixer. I like to resolve problems, and I wasn't at the age of 14, 13. Perhaps you're still exploring life and finding yourself, and I would say that I was a bit lost, but then it was clear for me that I needed to get away.
Were you are you like do you have siblings? Firstborn? Are you firstborn, secondborn, third?
Firstborn. I have a sister, a younger sister.
And did she stay back or?
Yes, she's in Hong Kong. Yes, she's in Hong Kong all her life, but we've kept a very, very close relationship, and and we're really like best friends. So it's tough to be separated, but then I never got homesick. It's interesting. So I'm able to dissociate myself from the place where I was born. I left for the UK, and then, I would come back for school holidays and stuff, but then suffer from homesick. I was lucky enough not to suffer from homesick. Otherwise, that's very tough.
Yeah.
And so you left when you were 14. You did boarding school, then you had to get in eventually, medical school and King's. And so how many years were you, for example, in the UK altogether?
Altogether, 23 years.
Wow.
Holy cow. Can you tell us a little bit, like, kind of the chronology and, maybe a few, anecdotes or stories, I wanted to get in here, I didn't get there. Was it difficult? Money, whatever, the decisions in those years?
Obviously, boarding school years were tough. Very tough. I don't know whether it's okay to say it, but then it's a lot of bullying. Yes.
Oh wow, really?
And racism as well. I was doing pretty good in maths, and I was told to go back home because I have to say we were 2 years ahead, and then therefore I used to spend most of my time sitting through the maths class because I would finish in 5 minutes, and I was told by my classmate to go back home. Anyhow, that's perhaps not so severe. And then I also didn't quite fit in with the Hong Kong people as well. Yes. I've also been reflecting a lot on this, and then I just couldn't fit in because I suppose I'm not the type to I'm not a sheep, although I was born in the year of goat, but then I didn't deliberately try to fit in, and that made me stand out, I suppose. I mean, let's put it this way, I did not deliberately try to fit in, yes. And then I stood out as a sore thumb most of the time, refusing to do certain things. I didn't want to join a group thing for shopping and eating this way, and so yes, that was interesting as well. When you're abroad and people try to stick together. If you go to Chinatown, they stick together. If you go to Korean town, they stick together. But then I was like, we should try to integrate. This is why I was there, right? And then difficult to strike a balance. But then ultimately, I try to focus on my studies because my prime objective of going to boarding school was to get into med school. So that was very, very important for me. And luckily I got offer from King's. I got the grades I needed. And yes, London was completely different. I was in a boarding school in the middle of nowhere in the Midlands. If I say the name, you wouldn't even know. A village with a massive reservoir and 6 pubs and a tuck shop, nothing else.
Wow.
You can imagine I was in a very remote part of the world.
Wow.
One of the things that resonates, Leona, is the fact that as we've talked to other people, and even our own lives, certainly my life, sometimes when you have rejections and difficulties, that makes you stronger in a way, because you want to prove people wrong, that you're not supposed to go back, that you belong there, that you're as good at least as they are, and I can see that. I would guess that stayed in you and gave you even more drive than you already had. I don't know if that resonates with you.
Yes, I think life is full of rejections and failures.
Right.
Definitely, you see the glorify us, yeah, pictures that you're also super successful as well, but people see the glorify you, but they don't see your tears and sweats and bleeding and all that. So I think it's just like
So true.
why do I use these words? I think fitting for Ops and Gynae.
Yeah.
A lot of blood in our job, but at the same time, we take a lot of blood for research.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And that's the one thing I really love about these sessions that we have, is because this is where we really get to hear about those stories, about those difficult moments that you push through, and the mindset that helps you persevere, because that is really what I think us as younger generation look up to for inspiration, to realize like there is hard work, there are failures, and that you overcome them to get to where you are today. So thank you for sharing that. So, once you got to King's, like what was your journey like? So how long were you there, and kind of like your journey to where you are today? Because you also came back to Hong Kong eventually, so kind of what led to all of that too?
So I was a student at King's. I did my 5 years med school, then afterwards went into training. So back then, Ops and Gynae training was system. It was very, very tough, because it meant that every year we had to apply for a new job. There was not a run through training program, and then first 2 years as SHO, then from year 3 onwards you need to get a registrar job, and we had to get a new job every year. So the first 2 years were tough. I got my first job for 6 months in Hillingdon, which is somewhere near Heathrow, and then afterwards I was lucky to get a job at King's for 18 months. So that was the beginning of my whole journey, I would say, as an Ops and Gynae doctor. And then but after those 2 years as SHO, I still needed to get some research exposure as well as second call exposure. Back then we needed to do those two things in order to get a registrar post. So that's why I went to Harris Birthright. At King's, there are 3 centers of excellence: fetal medicine, Urogynae, and early pregnancy scanning. And then, so after serious considerations, and I was thinking, it would be fun to learn to do obstetric scans, scan some babies. Yes, obviously deluded to think that is fun and cute and joyful, but our line of work is not so joyful. But then I went to Kypros and then asked him for a fellowship, and then he was very generous and offered me a position of 2 years straight away. And then I remember when I started there, I spent 6 months not seeing him. He was somewhere, and I was just scanning. And one day he called me into his office and then asked me if I wanted to do research. And when the boss asks you wouldn't say no, would you? I didn't have any experience in research, and I have to be honest with you. When I was doing A-levels, I really hated statistics. I did double maths and I hated statistics. I had no idea what that was about. I suppose the theory was challenging, and then anyway, I said yes, of course. And then initially he gave me the preterm birth study, the progesterone study. Then after a little while, he changed his mind and asked me if I wanted to be involved with preeclampsia research. So I did my MD there, but that took altogether 5 years. So I spent 3 years in Harris Birthright as a fellow, then went back to training. By then, the whole NT system was changed into the special training system, ST system, which is a run-through training program. So from ST1 to ST7, you don't need to worry about applying for a job every year. So, and then I went into the ST system and started my ST training as year 3. So I was at King's for that. Then I went to a small hospital, Lewisham, nearby, and then I went to Croydon for year 5. And then I was lucky enough to get back to King's for my subspec. Together, I also spent time at St Mary's. So it was a joint post at King's and St Mary's for my subspec training. That's for 2 years. So ST6 and 7, I was able to combine my ST6 and 7 training with maternal-fetal medicine subspec training. And then afterwards, I became a consultant and senior lecturer at King's.
Wow.
I was at King's for 3 years, and then I came back to Asia because my husband wanted to relocate. He's originally from Malaysia, and then he saw the opportunity that Asia is going to be a suitable place for him. He works in finance, so, and I also saw it as an opportunity to gain some independence. And to be honest, Kepros was like, in England, I couldn't work anywhere else other than at King's, and therefore it's important for me to figure out how I could gain my academic independence. So the opportunity arose, and therefore I also joined my husband and came back to Hong Kong. That was in 2016.
Wow.
What are your best memories of those years? You know, what do you remember more fondly, if I can ask, Leona, in terms of, you know, the type of work, the cases, but then hopefully I'm hoping you're not getting bullied anymore, and, you know, things were a little bit better. I don't know, or still bullied maybe? I don't know.
My fond memories, I suppose I always call Harris Birthright as a research utopia. Whatever I wanted to do, I mean, I was lucky enough to have the support of Kepros.
That's great.
And to be able to obviously develop the prediction model for preeclampsia screening, and then to do the aspirate trial, to have successful results, to get a very important paper published in New England Journal of Medicine. These are very, very fond memories. But then at the same time, I was quite keen to try something new. And obviously, Kepros is forever my mentor, and I always say that I need a dose of inspiration from him from time to time. We talk regularly, and it's still nice to have this. It's so nice to have this strong mentor-mentee relationship with him. So yes,
wow,
lots of fun memories.
So
but I don't know. Bullying. Oh wow, this is a very challenging question, Vincenzo. Of course, we get bullied. I mean, I'm sure in one way or the other. But then the most important thing is how you deal with the situation. And okay, if you fall, if you suffer, you just have to find a way to resolve the conflict. Or I would say we all have challenges, and we all have moments when we are feeling a bit low. And you need to find a way to relieve your stress. Wouldn't say depression, a bit of anxiety, a bit of sadness. And I've been using some help as well. So because I feel like in Asia, I'm quite isolated. Back in London, lots of friends, we share the same ideology. We are doing something similar, but then Hong Kong is small. I have to be honest with you. Yes, a small place with lots of people, and then the pool of people that you can work with is very small. This is why I went out. I made the effort when I returned in 2016 to establish a collaborative network in the region. I have 18 centers across 10 regions in Asia, and we all share a common goal. And it's fabulous to see them wanting to do research, wanting to contribute their little piece. And this is how you build friendship and collaboration, and really this is, as Kavita would say, it's beautiful. And then we were successful in conducting the implementation trial, forecast trial. So that was also another piece of fond memory, I would say. Yes.
Wow, I love that. And then you mentioned a little bit about that transition back. The culture being different and stuff. How was that transition for you from from the UK to Hong Kong? Was there any specific thing that you felt that you had to overcome, or a new thing you had to learn in order to integrate into the system?
I suppose on many levels, the transition was harsh. As a person, I would call myself a banana.
Okay.
Yellow on the outside, white on the inside. My mentality is completely non-Chinese. I value my roots. I value my beliefs for sure. But at work, I'm a different person because my education was in the UK, and my training was in the UK. So my whole work ethics, work mentality are definitely very non-Chinese, and I think that's difficult. But I would want to say that it's important to be true to yourself. I mean, do I want to fit in? I do, but without compromising my values, without compromising my integrity as a person, as a physician, as a researcher. And as a person, it was a challenge. As a physician, as a clinician, it was also a challenge because my practice is extremely strong. You can imagine, I came from Harrisburg, right? I was taught by the leader of our field. My practice is strong, and so it took a while for us to find common grounds. And I remember there was a discussion about not offering amniocentesis at 23 weeks and 5 days because a termination couldn't be offered. I was like, but then I should still offer amniocentesis because it's the mother's right. But of course, we have to make it very clear that we will not get the results in time for termination of pregnancy before 24 weeks. But then we cannot. For me, I felt very wrong to deny the woman the choice. So these are the conversations I was having with my colleagues. I would offer a late amniocentesis, but then the feedback was, but then there's nothing you can do. Not true, because I would say if I know the diagnosis, then I can prepare the parents better. I can actually prepare the pediatricians better. So I think, not direct clashes, but then lots of moments when we would be in disagreement. So yeah.
Can you expand some more on the white part of the banana? I love that comparison. Meaning, what are the values? We are an expiring show, thanks to Kavita. What values, do you, no matter where you are, try to instill in your work, be with trainees or patients or associates? What are those values that you really, no matter where you are, you're gonna stand by?
So I think forget about the banana metaphor. It's not about the color.
Right, exactly.
It's about who you are.
Yeah.
However, it's difficult because we are defined by our appearance and we're stereotyped.
Right.
Well, I was in a meeting the other day, and then supposedly a nice comment and lots of positives, and then, oh, you're aggressive. I'm like, if I'm a man, would you tell me that I'm aggressive? I'm doing my job. I'm just being myself. I'm assertive, and I fight for what I believe in. So I think it's not about actually whether I was educated in the UK or whether I was growing up elsewhere. Yeah. I joke about this banana phenomenon because then you can understand the challenges I face. But at the same time, I feel like, look at the person and listen to that person. And I mean, my kind of working is that, first of all, I'm a woman myself, and I don't want to distinguish men and women. And but at the same time, the world does. Therefore, I don't have a choice but to kind of get trapped in this bubble. Like, I'm a woman, I'm aggressive, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But then if you look at what I'm doing, I'm just doing what I'm passionate about. I'm assertive. Yes, I believe in preeclampsia screening and prevention. I'm fighting for it. I want to make sure that I can help, a region reduce maternal mortality rates, etc. But this is considered aggressive. I'm like, okay, fine, fine, call me aggressive. And then, but at the same time, I want people to kind of like, don't compromise what you believe in. And I tell my team, because I even tell them that they can challenge me. It's okay that I'm wrong, because sometimes I fall behind as well. I would like the next generation to not just follow what the professor said. Because this is a problem. I mean, this is what I love about my exposure at King's Kipros. Of course, I couldn't challenge Kipros all the time, but I could do it in a gentle way so I can get the answer that I need. And then what I find it difficult in Asia is that because I'm a professor and therefore whatever I say is wrong, and I don't believe in that. I can be wrong, and I encourage my team to kind of, they can challenge me. Okay, I get upset as well for 2 seconds, but then I will sit down and think, and then I'll digest the information, and I'll okay, she's right, he's right, and then let's talk again. So I like my team to be inquisitive. I like my students to be inquisitive and not just to listen, not just follow. And so these are not the easy idea. I mean, this is difficult in my part of the world. I want you to know, because you see a professor, you bow, you say, morning, professor. You don't challenge that system. You don't challenge that figurehead. You are just meant to follow. You're just meant to say yes, yes, yes. But I'm completely not doing that. And I wish I can. And I keep reminding myself, yes, when you speak, please be polite. It's not like I'm impolite. I just want to cut out the pleasantries. I just want to cut out all the crap. I just want to go straight to the discussion. And then that's perceived to be rude, perhaps impolite in some way. Yeah, sorry, I have completely drifted.
No, you have not. You have answered it beautifully.
Yeah, I think you highlighted a very important lesson for, I think, younger generations. So because I think the culture of medicine, there's a lot of the training. It really breeds what do you call, like, seeking external validation. Since students, you're almost looking for someone to tell you, oh, good job, or yes, you got the right answer. So people are very conditioned to like just please, but to have the courage to, number one, know your values, and number two, stand for them, I think is such an important and powerful thing to do. And you're doing that by leading it by example, and to share it on a platform like this. I think it's important for people to hear. I think, as I train in Asia myself from Thailand, so I totally understand. My med school was same. It's a hierarchy system. You do not question or you do not push back. You say yes to everything. So I think,
but that's wrong.
Exactly.
But that's wrong.
Yeah, so it's nice to hear that, hey, we have leaders that are trying to shift the culture to empower people to think independently, which I think will actually help push the medicine further even more and give better patient care. So I think those are really important points. So thank you for sharing that.
Do you have any, moving 2016 and after, right, where we're at, tell us maybe some positive, proud moments, in Hong Kong as well. Like, you talked about the 18, collaborators. It sounds like already you're, by example, yourself, you're changing the culture, one person at a time. Do you want to expand on that, slow change or good change?
Yeah, because I came back and as I mentioned, Hong Kong is small, and then it's difficult to do for me as a clinical researcher. It's important to do multi-center studies so that our results can be generalized. So naturally, I was looking for new friends, new collaborators, and over the years, we've set up this collaboration network, and then we conducted the forecast trial and implementation trial, just demonstrating that the Screen Prevent program for preterm preeclampsia works equally well in Asia, and then we published that last year in Circulation. And then following that, the hospital authority in Hong Kong made the decision to roll out the program across all public hospitals in the city. So that's, for me, amazing that we're able to translate our research findings into policy and practice, and this is what drives me, I think, and I think hopefully this is just the beginning, because I often talk about half the world's births happen in my part of the world, and yet if you China, they're always referring to ACOG recommendations, and then, or else we are always referring to the NICE recommendations. So I wonder whether we'll get to a point that we can use our own data to drive change. So this is something I'm advocating for, and I think my fellow collaborators share the same sentiment, and I think this is why they are happy to be part of this collaboration network. Yes. I think slowly. I don't think I'm changing the culture. I'm at least changing the research aspects of our field, because I don't think clinical research is so dominant in Asia. Basic research is more dominant in Asia. They're much stronger with basic science research. But then, for me, it's difficult because from bench to bed is probably 20 years. I don't know when I will get to see these amazing findings to be applied on patients. And I think we need to focus on high quality clinical research in this region going forward. Sorry, Vincenzo, I've forgotten your question.
No, you answered your questions. You answered the positivity and the and the successes you've had. I guess maybe, Kavita, if I could switch as well. We always make sure within the hour we talk about the personal side. You talked about your husband, and I don't know if you can share more about the classic questions for men or women actually is how you balance your life, kids and family, and you also moved. So I don't know if you can give any advice to the audience, to young people. You've had such a difficult, an amazingly busy, career. You talked about how much you worked, in King's and in boarding school, and I know in Hong Kong you're working at Just as hard. You're traveling, and there's no perfect example, but we've asked this to everybody, to Alfred Muhammad, he answered to everybody else. What are your tips, for the young people?
Well, there is no work-life balance.
Right.
I know the next generation is striving for that. However, I have a motto, and my medical students love it: work hard, play harder.
Yeah.
So when I'm on Facebook, I'm mindful. I don't want to always show my boring side, but then I show some fun pictures as well of my side trip, often as like you go to a conference and you make sure you take a day out or an hour out to see something, to enjoy local food. And I think it's very difficult to strike a balance, and I don't know whether that's off-putting. However, one of my very talented medical students said to me, this is called work-life integration. And if you're passionate about doing what you're doing, you can if you are able to go home, forget about work, fantastic. If you can't, don't be stressed about it. So I fully integrate my work within my daily life, and I'm very grateful to my husband, and he knows it, and he's been my rock, right? I mean, how can I do what I'm doing without a strong support? And been very tolerant, absolutely tolerant from the beginning. He thought it was only 3 years at Cape Ross's place, and then 3 years turned into 20 odd years. And yeah, we've learned to cope with that. And I travel. He travels as well, but he travels less. And but we value the time we spend together. And then I think it's important to have support, and it's important to have trust. Making sure that I will have a dinner with him, that's not easy, you know. And because I don't want to eat so much, and he does a warrior diet. He eats only one meal a day, and so our dietary requirements are completely different. And how do you find common ground? It's not easy. And so yeah, I think that's home. I don't have any children. I have a dog, a rescued dog. She was basically in an illegal puppy farm, and then she got rescued, and then we adopted her when I first returned to Hong Kong. I mean, she's so cute now, and yeah, we have a dog, and that's very nice. I've realized that I don't know, something funny. You touch a dog, and suddenly your worries go away. Something magical about something fuzzy. Yeah. And then, so yes, I'm jumping around a bit, like family, home, no balance. But then if you love what you do, then you should give it all, because otherwise life is short.
Wow.
I lost a colleague. I lost a colleague a year ago. Just like she just dropped dead, and my age.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So suddenly you just realize,
yeah,
life is short. Okay, well, I don't kill myself in the process, and I think do the best you can. This is all I can say. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, you were saying something, Vincenzo. Sorry.
Yes.
No, I wrote it down. You have to give it all. You say, Leona. I think that's another good message. I also say, work hard, play hard, but I'll say work hard, play harder. Now from you, and I practice it the same way. I think it's really important that people see all of that. The fact that you have some hobbies, the fact that you may have the dog, and the fact that you may take a day or two when you travel and see South Africa, and not just the Figo headquarters in Cape Town. And I think it's everybody's different. People go to life single, and but it's easier, I think, much easier if you have a rock. You mentioned the word rock. I think having a rock, it doesn't have to be 20 people, but having one or two people, could be your spouse, could be somebody else who you can depend on. It's really important. But I want to emphasize that I think when you're at work, when you're at a conference, when you're giving a talk, when you're organizing NA18 sites, regional research network, you give it all. You can, and it's nice to have I think you've had the peace of mind, to be able to kind of go into flow and concentrate on those goals. And you're right. I think many of us may be of a particular kind, but a lot of people tell me, especially since I'm older, like, I can't wait to retire, and like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Like, what we do is so inspiring. This whole thing, it's about inspiration that Kavita came up with, but it is inspiring to put a preeclampsia thing around all of Asia, millions of births, and all of a sudden you're saving thousands of moms and thousands of babies. I mean, that if that's not a life calling, I don't know what else is. I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's truly amazing. I love hearing, both of you shared that aspect. It's just so important. And it seems like when you love what you do, that is play as well. So it's not like you have to take time out to play, because what you're doing feels like play in the moment, with the flow of it. But what do you enjoy doing, like outside work for fun? Is there anything you love doing for yourself that is something you want to share? We'd love to hear that. I heard about the rabbits earlier. Like, you have those little toys in your room, but anything else?
Well, it's super sad for me to say that other than traveling and writing papers, I don't do much else. Because people ask me, what do you do before bedtime? Oh, I'm writing my papers, but for me, it's like writing a story. I talk about
Yeah.
writing papers as if I'm writing a story, but then it's just instead of a true story, it's a scientific story that I tell. And then so I think you know, these are the two main hobbies that I have. But then I don't know whether I can show it. Let me try and not shock everyone. I think you're frozen, or am I frozen?
No, you're good. You're good.
I'm good. I'm good. So basically, I'm sure people are familiar with the concept of Pop Mart and Labubu, and then we are always gifting each other these
Yeah, I
blind
love
boxes.
this.
And then so I've been given this blind box by a colleague, super sweet. And then I was secretly opening this box under the camera, and then I don't want to shock you. So anyway, I can share with you. So I've been given this. This is it's one of the 7. I mean, I could have been given Boris, which is the brown bear, or a ghost, or a Miffy, a witch Miffy. And then so this is something very cute. And then I don't know, is quite Asian, I would say. And my office is full of rabbits, which is fitting for our specialty. Rabbits reproduce, and we would like the birth rate to go up. Yes.
Do you collect them? Do people know that you collect them, or it's
I
just
try
a
not to,
tradition?
because otherwise it becomes an addiction. I can see my colleagues and friends are being completely addicted. I mean, I'm not addicted, but still, I am obsessed in getting some Labubus. I do have one. I don't know whether I should show you. Maybe yes, I can find one for you.
Thank you.
And then and show you. I have one Labubu, and then which is the small one.
Yes.
Anyway, madness. But then a little bit of joy on the side, a little bit of fun on the side. Yes,
absolutely.
To relieve the stress. A bit of retail therapy. Affordable retail therapy. Yes.
I love that. That's wonderful. So what is one thing you look forward most in your day every day?
Is a good question. At least today, I'm very much looking forward to seeing my team. I've been away for more than 10 days, and so it's important to touch base with them and make sure that they're taken care of. You can imagine, I'm traveling so much, and people are asking me how I can do this and how I can be productive and travel at the same time. So I'm very grateful for my team, because while I'm away, the work continues, and it's important to empower them and trust them and make them take ownership of something. And so yes, very much looking forward to catching up with them and kind of making sure that they're on track. Yeah, seeing patients is also I see clinical work as respite from my other work.
Yeah.
So sometimes I like to escape to the ward, then I can really get away from my computer. Because once I sit down, I don't stop. I'm sure it's the same for both of you. So seeing my patients is respite from my other work. That's important.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's interesting. It reminds me, Liona, when we interviewed Cynthia Janfi Bannerman, we asked her, so what do you like to do at work the most? And she said, I like to have an SPSS database and work it, to the statistics, whatever. Is there something, else from you? You talked about the patients, you talked about the team, but is there a moment where you're in flow of work? Maybe it's writing a paper. I don't know. What professionally you like the most? You could do all the time.
I think writing a paper.
Yeah.
And then I would say I was quite creative as a kid. I liked to draw. I liked music.
Wow.
Yeah, I used to play the violin, piano.
Wow.
I used to play the drums. I've lost all of that through medical school and my job.
Yeah.
And I can't even read music anymore. So I would say that I converted my kind of artistic creativity into scientific creativity. And then it's beautiful when I look at some results that make sense, and writing a paper that makes sense. And yeah, sadly, that is my hobby, and that's what I enjoy the most. And,
Leona,
what I do is also they find me my team finds me interesting because I tell them that I watch television in the background. I would watch a show from China, learn Mandarin, and then I will write a paper. And they're like, how can you do two things? So this is how I write a paper. It's like I learn Chinese at the same time, and I'm looking at scenery. I picked that up during COVID because we were not able to travel during COVID. We couldn't even go to Macau, and so we were pretty trapped in the city. And I started watching these shows from China, amazing dramas and beautiful backdrop. And then at the same time, I picked up Mandarin, so now I can even give lectures in Mandarin.
Wow,
I'm fluent.
That is so impressive. I love that. Wow.
Yeah, I want to emphasize one thing you said, because I feel exactly the same way. And Leona, I don't think anybody else said it. I also feel like an artist when I'm writing a paper. I'm supposed to be the evidence-based guy, and at the end it's a chi-square, and you can't change the numbers. Those are the numbers. But the way you interpret, the way you write, the slides, your presentation, the tone of voice when you present, how you interact with others, there is some art into that, and I find it very, very creative. Like you, I am not a musician. I'm not a painter. I can't draw anything. Still stick figures, for men or women. But I think that that what makes me go into flow, the creativity part of putting some science, together, which is really unbelievable.
And telling a story, because I think the students are frightened of writing a paper.
Yeah,
they're like, oh, I can't do it. How can I do this? Oh, this is impossible. And then you tell them that this is just a story. Yeah. Just tell me why you want me to read this story.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And then they're like, okay, it's not so difficult.
Yeah. I love that analogy, and I hope everyone listening, especially our younger generation, also inspired to go write papers. Yeah, I mean, writing is a form of art, and it definitely is a creative outlet. And you said earlier, you're like, sadly, this is what you enjoy doing. I don't think it's sad at all, because you're helping millions of lives around the world. It's a very wonderful thing. So thank you. Yeah, that's great. I think we're kind of getting closer towards the end of the sessions. Are there any additional things you feel like you want to share with the younger generation, or anything? Or you've hit so many important points, and so many inspiring thoughts, but anything else you'd like to say to the team?
So I normally tell my medic students, well, it's like I do this class, and then I try to interact with them. They wouldn't interact with me, so I'm interacting with myself. And I'm kind of like, I don't want you to be robots. I want you to be, I want you to have critical thinking and all that. So the key would be, I think, whether you want to do research or whether you just want to be a physician, the bottom line is you need to be very nosy, very inquisitive, and stay curious. And then please don't stop asking why we do what we do. And because it's just a final piece is why I started my journey. And now perhaps Vincenzo has heard me say this before. I was actually, when I got called into care process room, whether I wanted to do research, and then we started talking about building a project on preeclampsia. And then he asked me, Leona, so how do we measure blood pressure? Then I was like, okay, it must be a tricky question. It must be tricky. It cannot be so simple because it's come from the boss. But of course I went through the motion to talk about the machine, the cuff, and pressing a button. The next question was, you have two arms. Do you like the right one or the left one? I was like, oh my God. what is this question? So that's the beginning of my research career, because I didn't know the answer to that. And then I went to ask my cardiology friends, and then they couldn't give me an answer. Someone said left arm because it's closer to the heart. Someone said right arm because it's further from the heart. Absolutely not evidence-based. So I started my whole preeclampsia project simply looking at how blood pressure should be measured.
Wow.
So don't just take things for granted. Whether it's for research, clinical care, or everyday life, you need to keep asking, keep learning, and keep growing. And this is the only way that we can make change. I know people don't like change. This is the challenge that we have to face. And then, but I think if we have enough people wanting change, then this will eventually happen.
Wow.
Very inspiring, Leona. You said such wonderful things. I'll leave it up to Kavita to wrap it up. But is there anything in the next, years of your work, professional, that you would really like to happen? Do you have any particular dream that you try to still get done?
Yes, I have several new projects in the pipeline. It's like latching on the preeclampsia work, and then we know that there's evidence demonstrating that preeclampsia is the precursor to future cardiovascular morbidities. So I think we need to advocate for better and more holistic postnatal care, the 4th trimester, the 5th trimester of pregnancy. And so we need to optimize inter-pregnancy health, improve outcomes in future pregnancies, and address long-term cardiovascular health. Because I only learned about the fact that cardiovascular disease is the #1 cause of women's death. I didn't know that. And then we are missing an opportunity as an OB to optimize long-term health through better postnatal care. So this is something I'm kind of working on, and also using ultrasound for monitoring labor progress. Because I think we are still doing this. I think some examinations can be replaced by ultrasound to see how the fetal head comes down, to see the cervical dilatation. I think we should look into integrating ultrasound into labor monitoring. And then with that, we can hopefully reduce the incidence of intrapartum pyrexia. Of course, that is leading on to intrauterine infection. These are all the things I'm very passionate about right now, and hopefully we can continue with this work going forward.
That's all so exciting. Thank you so much. That's really, really awesome. And, we look forward to even more amazing work coming out from you and your team and your centers. And, one fun question I love to ask before we end is, if you can describe yourself in one word, what would that be?
My mom used to call me a hedgehog.
Why?
Prickly on the outside. Soft on the inside. Well, the other word is, I suppose, obviously, resilient is the key word. It's like lots of setbacks throughout the journey, lots of tears, but just have to stay focused and continue and stay true to the mission. Very important.
Wow. No, resilient for sure. And your mom would be so proud of you. I know you said you started this journey because of her, and I'm sure wherever she is, she's really proud of you. So thank you for doing all you do. I think we're wrapping up here. And before I let you close up, I think I just wanted to highlight the takeaways from this session. There were so many inspiring things you said, but some things that really stuck with me, I think just being very fearless in pursuit of your potential, making that decision to leave home since young yourself. And second thing that I really love that you said is to stand by your values. It's to be able to have the courage to speak up. And most importantly, you have to give it all. I love that. That I will always keep with me. So thank you so much for sharing all that. Is there any final words you have with us, Dr. Poon? This has been such an amazing session. Thank you.
Oh, it's been a pleasure joining your podcast. And yes, it's quite amazing to be able to speak about all these things, because perhaps it's something I would tell a friend. But then, and you've given me an opportunity to share some of my secrets. Not so secret, not so secretive now. And then, but then on the other hand, though, perhaps it helps people understand why I'm the way I am. Then I don't need to explain myself anymore. So this is amazing. Yes.
Thanks, Leona. This has been very, very inspiring for me. I think very inspiring for the 1,000 people watching. Have a wonderful day, and thanks for everybody for watching. And Leona, again, you've been great. Thanks, Kavita, for hosting.
Of course. No, thank you. Thank you to all our listeners. Have a great evening, great day, wherever you